Hello.
I often wonder how it all began. This ritual of mine that feels so freeing, so inherently me. There's something about being alone, hearing nothing but the crackle of the chimney and the distant hum of the world outside, that brings out a side of me no one else gets to see. I'm 35, a single mother to my son Max, who just turned 17. Though life hasn't been simple, I've always prided myself on my resilience, my independence. Years of dance shaped not only my body but also my soul. It's like music runs through my veins, and every note beckons me to move. Max is my pride and joy, the anchor that keeps me grounded. He's a typical teenager, balancing school, friends, and his never-ending quest for freedom. We've always been close, but lately, I've sensed the subtle shift in our dynamic, the unspoken acknowledgement that he's becoming a man. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't proud of the person he's becoming. Smart, kind, and confident in ways that surprise me. But when the house is empty and the silence settles in, I let myself be me, the part of me that existed before motherhood. On those rare afternoons, I slip into my favorite swimsuit, the one that hugs my curves just right. High heels click against the wooden floor as I strut to the beat of a song only I can hear. The chimney's glow lights the room, and in that moment I feel young, powerful, and alive. I never intended for anyone to see this side of me. It's my secret, my escape. But life has a funny way of throwing surprises your way. The late afternoon sun filtered through the curtains, painting golden streaks across the living room floor. The faint crackle of the fire in the chimney added warmth to the rhythm in my ears as my body moved instinctively to the beat. Lost in my own world, I let the music guide me, each sway and step a reminder of who I was before life became so complicated. I wore my favorite swimsuit, paired with sleek black heels that clicked softly against the floorboards. The reflection in the window revealed a confident, toned silhouette, a version of myself I didn't always get to see. For a moment, the responsibilities of motherhood, the worries about bills, the nagging feeling of being judged, all of it disappeared. I wasn't just Max's mother or the single woman next door. I was me, unapologetically. The song swelled and I twirled, arms extended like the world was my stage. My chest heaved with exhilaration as the tempo slowed. With a graceful arch of my back, I ended my routine, smiling to myself at how alive I felt. That's when I saw him. In the reflection of the window, past my own gleaming image, a shadow caught my eye. I froze, my heart thundering in my chest. I turned sharply to the glass, and there he was. Max, standing just outside, phone in hand, pointed directly at me. For a split second I thought I was imagining it. But no, there he was, as real as the heat of the fire behind me. He was filming me. "Max!" I called out, my voice a mix of shock and disbelief. The music still played, the bass thumping in stark contrast to the tension now filling the room. He startled, fumbling with his phone as if I'd caught him doing something forbidden. His cheeks flushed, though whether it was from embarrassment or something else I couldn't tell. Slowly, he opened the door and stepped inside, still holding the device awkwardly at his side. I got home early," he said, his words tumbling out quickly. "I didn't mean to. He cut himself off, his eyes darting between me and the floor. My cheeks burned with equal embarrassment. This wasn't how he was supposed to see me. Not like this, not in my private moment. 1,000 thoughts raced through my mind. How long had he been standing there? How much had he seen? "What were you doing with your phone, Max?" I asked, my voice calm but tinged with the unmistakable edge of a mother's authority. He hesitated, his lips parting to form words that didn't come. Finally he exhaled, his shoulders slumping slightly. "I don't know," he admitted, barely louder than a whisper. "I saw you and you look so cool. I wanted to show my friends." Cool. That wasn't what I expected. A surge of relief mingled with irritation as I tried to process his words. "Your friends," I repeated, my tone incredulous. "Max, this isn't something I want anyone else to see. This is my private time. I paused, unsure how to put into words what those moments meant to me. It's personal. He nodded quickly, his eyes widening as he realized the gravity of the situation. I didn't send it to anyone. I swear, he blurted. I just thought, you looked amazing. Like you're not just, you looked like you. I don't know, it was just cool. His words stopped me in my tracks. My heart softened, though the embarrassment still lingered. I crossed my arms, trying to mask the mix of vulnerability and gratitude his words stirred in me. You should have just told me that, I said after a moment, my voice gentler now. I would have appreciated it more than sneaking around with your phone. I'm sorry, he said earnestly, stepping closer. I wasn't thinking. I didn't mean to invade your privacy. I sighed, looking at him. For all his awkwardness, there was something so earnest about his apology. He was still my son, the thoughtful, kind boy I'd raised. This was just a moment of bad judgment. Delete it, I said firmly. Now. Without hesitation, he pulled out his phone, his fingers moving swiftly across the screen. It's gone, he said, holding the device up for me to see. Thank you, I replied, feeling a weight lift slightly from my chest. Max, I need you to understand something. This isn't just dancing. It's a way for me to feel like myself. To not just be mom. Do you get that? He nodded, his gaze steady. Do now. I guess I just never thought about it like that. I don't know, you're so good at it. I just wanted to. I don't know. You already said that, I teased lightly, trying to dispel some of the lingering tension. He smiled sheepishly, scratching the back of his head. Well, it's true, he said. You're amazing. I blinked, surprised at the sincerity in his tone. It wasn't often that teenagers were so forthcoming with their admiration, and I couldn't help but feel a swell of gratitude. Thanks, Max, I said softly. But next time, no sneaking around. Okay, he agreed quickly. And, sorry. Again. With that, he gave me a small, lopsided grin and turned toward the stairs. I watched him go, the music still faintly playing in the background. As the door to his room clicked shut, I took a deep breath, letting the moment settle. It wasn't the way I'd wanted him to see me, but maybe it wasn't so bad after all. I turned back to the window, my reflection now framed by the soft glow of the fire. Smiling faintly, I kicked off my heels and decided to let the music play just a little while longer. The house was quiet, the hum of the day settling into the soft embrace of night. I had taken a long, hot shower to shake off the awkwardness of the afternoon, hoping to clear my mind. As the steam from the bathroom clung to my skin, I felt a strange mix of emotions: embarrassment, confusion, and something harder to name. Max had apologized and deleted the video, or so he'd said. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to move past the oddness of it all and let the day slip into the past. Wrapped in my robe, towel drying my damp hair, I made my way down the dim hallway toward my bedroom. The wooden floor was cool beneath my feet, and the air smelled faintly of lavender from the diffuser Max had set up earlier. He had such a knack for little gestures, for making the house feel cozy, even if he didn't realize it. Then I heard it. A low, muffled sound, almost like a whisper, carried through the stillness. It was faint but distinct, a restrained voice, soft but heavy with something I couldn't quite place. My heart skipped. I stopped, listening intently. It was coming from Max's room. At first I thought he might be on a call, but something about the tone was off. Hesitant. Quietly I crept toward his door. It wasn't fully closed, just slightly ajar, enough for me to peek inside. I hesitated, unsure if I should. He deserved his privacy, I told myself. But curiosity, that insistent tug, pulled me forward. The light from his phone illuminated the room in flickering bursts, casting faint shadows across the walls. Max lay on his bed, his head propped up by a pillow. One hand gripped the phone tightly. His eyes locked on the screen with an intensity one rarely saw. His face was flushed, a deep crimson that stood out starkly against the dim light. His breaths came fast and shallow, and every so often, he bit his lip as though trying to keep quiet. It wasn't the phone that held my attention. It was the movement beneath the blanket. His other hand moved rhythmically, slow at first, then faster, the motion undeniable. A lump formed in my throat as realization hit me like a wave. My stomach tightened. I should have turned away, left immediately, but something kept me rooted in place. My eyes darted back to the phone in his hand, the source of the light. From where I stood, I couldn't see the screen, but a terrible thought began to creep into my mind. Could it be? Max shifted slightly, and for a brief moment, the angle of his phone changed. My breath caught as I recognized the unmistakable image on the screen. It was me. The video. The one I thought he'd deleted. Heat surged through me, not from anger, but from shock. A visceral, overwhelming reaction I didn't fully understand. My face burned, my pulse racing in my ears as I tried to make sense of what I was seeing. Max, my son, wasn't just watching the video. He was using it. I swallowed hard, my mind reeling. He wasn't a little boy anymore. That much was clear. But seeing him like this, caught in such an intimate, private act, was something I could never have prepared for. The Max I saw in that moment wasn't the awkward teenager who blushed earlier when I confronted him about the video. He was a man, driven by impulses and desires I couldn't ignore. My body felt hot, my palms clammy as I gripped the edge of the doorframe for support. A part of me wanted to storm in, to demand an explanation, to yell at him for betraying my trust. But another part, the quieter, more hesitant part, told me not to. What would I even say? How could I address something so personal, so raw? His movements quickened, his breaths growing louder. I took a step back, careful not to make a sound. The last thing I wanted was for him to know I'd seen. Whatever this was, whatever it meant, it wasn't a conversation I could handle. Not now. Maybe not ever. As silently as I could, I retreated down the hallway, my heart pounding so loudly I was sure he would hear it. When I reached my room, I closed the door gently behind me and leaned against it, exhaling shakily. My head swam with a dozen conflicting emotions: shock, confusion, guilt, and something else I couldn't name. I crawled into bed, pulling the covers up to my chin as though they could shield me from the storm of thoughts raging in my mind. I stared at the ceiling, the events of the day replaying over and over like a loop I couldn't escape. Max wasn't a boy anymore. That was painfully clear. But what I didn't understand, what I couldn't wrap my mind around, was why he hadn't deleted the video, and why he'd chosen to use it like that. I lay awake long into the night. The image of his flushed face and the light of his phone burned into my memory. Sleep wouldn't come, not with so many questions swirling unanswered in my mind. What was I supposed to do now? The house was silent, the ticking of the clock on my nightstand filling the stillness. I sat on the edge of my bed, freshly showered, trying to shake off the weight of what I had seen earlier. My mind raced, struggling to process the unexpected moment I had stumbled upon. It wasn't something I could have prepared for or anticipated. Max's flushed face, his intense focus on his phone screen, and the rhythmic movements beneath his blanket replayed in my mind. The realization that the video he had filmed earlier, the one he promised to delete, was still there left me shaken. More than that, the fact that he had kept it and chosen to view it in private was something I didn't know how to feel about. I leaned back against the headboard, pulling the blanket over my lap. My emotions were a whirlwind: embarrassment, confusion, and a simmering tension I couldn't quite place. My son wasn't a boy anymore. That was painfully clear. But witnessing such a personal moment had stirred something within me, a storm of feelings I didn't fully understand. I closed my eyes, breathing deeply in an attempt to steady myself. But the memory lingered, vivid and unrelenting. I thought of the way Max had looked at me earlier in the day, the awkward sincerity in his apology, and the subtle shift in his demeanor. He wasn't just growing up. He was navigating a world of emotions and impulses that I, as his mother, had never been privy to before. My body tensed, my skin tingling with an unfamiliar awareness. It wasn't anger that consumed me but a raw, unfiltered sense of being seen in a way I hadn't been in years. The knowledge that Max had watched the video, had been drawn to it, filled me with a strange mixture of vulnerability and self-consciousness. As the minutes stretched on, I found myself restless, unable to push the thoughts away. My hands fidgeted at my sides, my mind wandering to the tension that had been building throughout the day. I couldn't deny the unease that gripped me, nor could I ignore the deeper sense of longing it uncovered, a longing to feel connected, to feel alive. I shifted beneath the blanket, letting my thoughts drift. The emotions were overwhelming, each memory from earlier playing like a loop in my mind. I thought of Max's sincerity, his quiet admiration when he said I looked cool, and how his words had resonated with me in a way I hadn't expected. My breathing slowed as I focused inward, letting myself acknowledge the feelings stirring within me. For years I had suppressed so much. My needs, my desires, my identity beyond being a mother. Now, those emotions demanded to be felt, raw and unapologetic. The weight of the day seemed to lift slightly as I embraced the moment, letting the tension unravel. My mind calmed, the chaos within me subsiding into something more manageable. I wasn't sure what this all meant or where it would lead, but for the first time in a long while, I felt present, fully, unapologetically myself. As I lay back against the pillows, my breathing evened out, and I let the quiet envelop me. The storm inside had passed, leaving a strange sense of clarity in its wake. Tomorrow would bring questions, challenges, and the need for reflection. But for now, I allowed myself this moment of peace. I turned off the bedside lamp, the room plunging into comforting darkness. With a deep breath, I closed my eyes, hoping for rest, knowing that the journey to understanding what had transpired, both for Max and for me, was only just beginning. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the curtains, casting warm, golden streaks across the room. I had barely slept, my thoughts tumbling over themselves in the quiet hours of the night. But as the day began, I decided it was time to address what had happened, not with anger or judgment, but with clarity and honesty. I stood outside Max's door for a moment, gathering my thoughts before pushing it open gently. He was still asleep, his face peaceful in the soft morning light. For a second I hesitated, wondering how to find the right words. Finally, I leaned down and placed a light kiss on his forehead, just like I used to when he was younger. "Morning, Max," I said softly, ruffling his hair as his eyes fluttered open. "Mom," he mumbled, his voice thick with sleep. He blinked up at me, his cheeks flushing faintly as he remembered the events of the day before. "What's going on?" I sat down on the edge of his bed, offering a small smile to ease the tension. "Max, I need you to be honest with me," I began. "That video you took yesterday, the one you said you deleted, did you really get rid of it?" His expression faltered, and he averted his gaze, his silence telling me everything I needed to know. I sighed, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Max, I'm not mad," I said firmly, and his eyes darted back to mine, wide with surprise. "But I need you to understand that keeping something like that isn't fair to me. That was a private moment, and it wasn't meant to be shared, even with you." "I'm sorry," he murmured, his voice barely audible. "I don't know why I kept it. I thought you looked." He stopped himself, his face turning crimson as he struggled to find the right words. "You thought I looked nice," I finished for him, my tone kind but direct. "Get it, Max. And thank you. It's flattering, really. But this is about trust. You need to respect my boundaries, just like I respect yours." He nodded slowly, his shoulders slumping as he reached for his phone on the nightstand. "I'll delete it. For real this time," he said earnestly, his fingers moving swiftly across the screen. A moment later, he turned the phone to show me the empty folder. "See, it's gone." "Good," I said, a small smile tugging at the corners of my mouth. "I'm glad we could talk about this." "And Max?" "Yeah," he asked, looking up at me with a mix of guilt and relief. "I'm pleased you think I look good," I admitted, my cheeks warming slightly. "But next time just tell me. You don't need to keep secrets like that." He nodded, a hint of a smile breaking through his embarrassment. "'Kay. I will." Good, I said, leaning in to kiss his forehead once more. Now get up. Breakfast is on the table. As I left the room, I felt a sense of resolution settle over me. The conversation hadn't been easy, but it felt right. Max was growing up and so was our relationship. There would be more challenges ahead, but for now I was content knowing that we'd handled this one with understanding and honesty.
Bye.